Auburn Associate Head Coach Stephen Pearl joins us each week on the show, normally at 9:30. It's a game day, so we're going to change times a little bit with Coach. And he joins us each week on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. Welcome in, Coach. How are you today?
Well, guys, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks a lot. Obviously, the big story with your team is playing a game tonight without Johni Broome. And I know that is something, I guess, as a coach, you've got to be prepared for with any player, something you hope you never have to enact a plan. But, I mean, at some point, it's got to be in the back of your mind is I'm not going to have my 5 starters every single game, every single year.
Yeah, no, it's just part of the season and, part of the grind of the SEC. You're going to, have stuff like this, but it's part of the reason why you build some depth on your roster and, have 10 or 11 guys that are capable and ready to play. And it's about those guys that, either haven't gotten enough minutes or haven't played in the roles that they necessarily wanted to be right and ready and stay right and ready because, it's time for some of those guys to step up and carry the water.
I know there's a lot of schedule to go, but it seems like this is a special team. So when he goes down 13 minutes to go in the half, what were your initial thoughts? I mean, it looked bad on TV.
Yeah, I mean, no one really blinked because it's just, it's just part. I mean, it's just part of the deal. Like if you sit there and harp on it and worry about it, obviously, like they're concerned about, their teammate, about their brother, but at the same time, you can't linger on it for too long because you got to go out there and still win a game. It's a really close basketball game on the road against a team that's playing really well in that game. So our guys had to get on to the next play, and that's something that we preach. Whether it's from a missed shot or a missed defensive assignment or something as serious as an injury, we got to get on to the next play. We'll deal with this after the game. And I thought our guys, to their credit, stayed really composed, stayed locked in, got on to the next play, and we were able to obviously pull out a tough one on the road.
Yeah, would have been easy not to do that. Stephen Pearl is with us. The audience wants me to start counting at 1 up to 20, and you stop me at what number you think Broome will return game-wise. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say spin around, look at the jerseys, and if you could plug in one of those guys behind you tonight, which one of those 4 guys would you plug in tonight?
I mean, if we could plug that guy in right there, Walker. I mean, I would take any of them. Obviously, Sir Charles in his prime, not right now. Charles right now would not be suitable. But hell, I would take any of the 4 guys behind me to plug and play right now. But it's just for Johni, it's he's never sprained his ankle before, so it's about him attacking his rehab and seeing what his pain tolerance can be, and for him, it's he can't rush back. He's got to take his time and come back when he's ready to play at the level that he had been playing at before the injury. So, it's a great opportunity for guys like Dylan Cardwell and Shani Johnson and Jaheim Hudson and Chris Moore and those guys to really step in and fill the void. And our guard group has been really solid and really good all year. And having 4 guards average double digits, obviously, we're going to rely on their shot making a little bit more. Our bigs got to do a good job of staying out of foul trouble. That's something that is going to be really important. In these next couple of games without Johni, because without him, you obviously you're missing some depth right there. So our guys, have to have good fouls, no stupid fouls, because we need those guys to stay in the game. But I think long run, this is going to be really good for our guys because it's going to give them opportunities and exposure to some things that they wouldn't have had if Johni was in there. So I think in the long run, this is going to be a positive for us.
And Taylor and I talked about this on our podcast. This is where basketball, I think, gets it so much better than football. I really believe the committee, whether you win them all or lose them all without your star player, there's no need to rush a guy back because of the way they judge you in college basketball. And I don't think fans really understand that enough, but you guys will be judged by the team you are when healthy Johni Broome comes back, right? Can you explain that to our fans?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had a ton of experience with this because we've been relatively healthy. And, we missed Jalen Williams in a game last year. We were able to win without him at Georgia. So I'm not, honestly, I'm not as up to knowledge as far as how that actually happens. They say that they don't judge you when you're not at full strength. So I think, losing games shouldn't hurt you, but, I would imagine that winning games without your star probably helps you a little bit. So, you're right. If that's the case, there's no reason for him to rush back because one, obviously he doesn't need to come back while he's still injured, because it could obviously negatively affect him, but negatively affect our team too. So, Janai's got to obviously, take his time on his treatment, on his rehab, and come back when he's ready to come back. And our guys got to, it's got to be the next man up mentality, and our guys just got to pick it up.
Auburn Associate Head Coach Stephen Pearl with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. You're known as the defensive coordinator of this team. Chris Jans, who you'll face tonight, is known as a really good defensive coach. How much respect do you have? What does he do that makes it so difficult, and how much respect do you have for him on the defensive side?
Yeah, I mean, they're 10th in the country in steal percentage. They average 10 steals per game. So, for him, it's just like he's done it with completely different teams. You look at that team last year and how big they were and how physical they were, and this year it's a much different team. It's guard oriented, so they're getting their defense from different guys as opposed to just doing it from the inside. They got a bunch of really good guards running around there, and then this is probably one of his best offensive teams he's had in a really long time. So his guys just play with unbelievable effort and energy. They fly around for 40 minutes. They play physically. They just make things really difficult for you. And he does a great job of making in-game adjustments. So Coach Jans has always been, all the way back to his New Mexico State teams. He's just had a bunch of really hard-playing dudes that just go out there and just, give it all for him. And that's why he's been so successful. And the scary part about this group is, they have a top 16 offensive efficiency in the country. They shoot the ball well. They don't turn the ball over. They crash the offensive glass. He's finally got a really good offensive team in addition to that stout defense.
And Cameron Matthews is a guy that's been around there for a while. How often do you see a forward that leads a team in assist?
Yeah, it's something that we've talked about all week. It's really impressive, to kind of see his progression from, his freshman year all the way up to now. Like, I'm a numbers nerd, but like his freshman year, his assist rate was 12% and his turnover rate was 29%. And he's, doubled his assist rate and he's dropped his turnover rate. So for a guy like that at the four to be such a great playmaker, driving it to the basket, to be able to finish, but he really does look to pass more when he's penetrating. And he's done such a good job of, getting those shooters open shots off the dribble handoffs, finding guys open on back cuts. He had draws so much attention with his penetration that as soon as somebody comes off, he's going to find the open guy. And he's obviously been a big part of their offense and their progression this year. So, he's just a winner, man. He does so many good things. Defensively, he's like a free safety out there. He just kind of roams around and just makes plays. So to have a guy out there, to be that effective, obviously kind of makes their motor run. So it's a guy that we have to neutralize and, hopefully get him into a little bit of foul trouble tonight, because the less he's on the floor, the better it is for us.
Listen, the place will be juiced tonight because you're number one in the country again. The students are back. Obviously another sellout. So and I would imagine Chad Baker and everyone's like, man, let's go get this one for Johni. How do you keep the guys? I know you don't want to hold them back any, but how do you keep them level-headed in a situation like this? You're a coach, man. How do you keep them focused?
You really can't you can't change much, regardless of what the roster looks like. We haven't changed anything since Johni went out. Like it's business as usual. Like, if you change too much, kids really notice that type of stuff and they kind of hang on to it. I think it makes them a little more nervous. So for us, it's about keeping things, business as usual. We're not doing a whole lot of changing. Obviously, like they see that other people will out in the media will say that, obviously, I don't know if Auburn can win without Broome. That'll motivate them. We don't have to do that for them. So I think it's just kind of keeping it business as usual. Our guys have played in plenty of difficult environments and great environments that, I'm not too worried about them getting too excited. But I think, just got to continue to do what we've been doing. You don't have to do more than what you've done to this point. You just got to continue to obviously trust in what we're doing, trust in the game plan, and just go out there and execute.
You are a self-admitted numbers nerd, you just said. What about superstitions? Is there a game day ritual that you've got?
Man, I am superstitious. If I stuck to all my superstitions, it would be, I would need to be medicated or hospitalized because it's just, there's too much stuff.
So you got a little OCD in you. Just give us one weird superstition that you've got.
One weird superstition that I I mean, like if I'm on the road and I have something good going, and like if I unpack a certain way, I'll unpack that way the next road trip. Just just to make myself feel good. It's really weird, but just small things like that.
No, I'm right there with you,
if I have
man.
a pen,
I was
if
putting
I have a
on.
pen that I've been using at a game, and
Yeah.
like we win with that pen's staying on the ear until we lose a game, and then we'll switch it out. Just it's all about mojo. It's all about being comfortable in those situations, and you get in your head a lot, but that's coaches. We're all kind of head cases, so we're all pretty similar in that regard. But at the end of the day, it's all about our guys going out there and executing.
Do you have an appetite on game day?
Yeah, yeah, I eat on game days. That doesn't. I used to get so nervous I'd get sick to my stomach, but I had somebody give me some really good advice in 2019 before the SEC tournament. One of my best friend's dad said, "Your players feed off of your energy, and they watch you. So when you're nervous, like they see that, and it reflects on them. You got to be a little more loose and just you can't like once the game comes around. Like as coaches, like we really only impact the game by a couple points based on decisions that we make. It's really up to them at that point to go and execute. So." While I do get animated on the defensive end, I've really tried to like rear back on other aspects of the game because I feel like they feed off nervous energy, and our kids are very emotionally intelligent kids. So I think the more cool, calm, and collected we are as a staff, the better that they'll perform. So that's one thing that I've tried to change, and was great advice I got earlier in my career.
Okay, so 2 quick questions before you go, real quick. I noticed at the end of the half Saturday, there's 1 second you guys call a timeout. And you start talking to Bruce about a play, and he just hands you the clipboard and you draw it up. Is that like, hey, I got a really good one, let me draw it up? How often does that happen? I mean, like, what's the process there?
I mean, me and Coach Burgomaster, we'll look at stuff, in the NBA and stuff that they do. It's a little different because there's really no deep corner side out of bounds. So honestly, like what I was kind of keeping in mind is kind of what Virginia did a couple of years ago when they just ran a stagger to Kyle Guy in the corner. And we, tried to run something similar to that. And Miles gets the ball and gets a decent look off. But BP is like, he's very trusting in those situations. And like, if we have a good idea for something specific like that, he'll let you kind of run with it. So me and Coach Burgomaster, we'll help him in those situations. In most other situations, BP's got something planned and can, but that one was a little unique because it was so far down the floor. So had an idea come up and, got to look at it, but with 0.6 seconds, you're not going to get a great look from that far away from the basket.
Number 2, and I can't swear that this affected Nick Pringle. He's not the best free throw shooter in the world, but I don't know that I've ever seen a guy shooting free throws at home and the opposing crowd have that big of an effect. I swear it had an impact on him. That was nuts.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was incredible how loud it got in that gym during those free throws. Like, I mean, the crowd split had to be 50-50. And I was a senior at Tennessee. There was more people in Columbia for that game, Auburn fans, than there were when I was at Tennessee coming to Auburn my senior year for one of the first, games in Auburn Arena. So it's like there was probably 4,000 or 5,000 Auburn folks in that gym. And like, it just makes such a huge difference for our guys. It gives them courage on the road. And, it really did feel like we were in Neville Arena those last 2 free throws because Pringle had made, a majority of his free throws leading up to those 2. And once our fans got going, it really felt like a home game and, obviously added a little more pressure. And, he's gotten so much damn better, man. He played an unbelievable game. Him and Murray Boyles punked us for a majority of that game. And, credit to our guys defensively. They didn't score the last 5.5 minutes, but, our fans are unbelievable. And when it comes to traveling and, they made a huge difference in that game and obviously led to him missing two big free throws and we were able to close it out.
That fan base has grown by 1. Baby's first game tonight? Question mark.
No, we actually the reason why I had to push this to 10:30 is because we had newborn pictures this morning at 9, and I was not able to come on until 10:30. So I think we're gonna wait a little bit longer, probably till sometime in mid-February for her to come to the game. So she's I don't know what our record is since the Ohio State game, but she's undefeated being at home. So we we're 7-0 since she's been here. So we'll keep our superstition of her watching from the house until we lose, and then maybe she needs to show up.
What is involved in newborn pictures?
I mean, I didn't even know I was involved in the damn things until Brittany said, "Why aren't you getting dressed?" I'm like, I thought these were pictures of her and you, and so I guess it's just pictures around the house and the nursery, and hell, I don't know, man. That was threw me through a little bit of a whirl this morning. So no, my game day superstitions and routines were a little off this morning, but to do it for her is worth it.
Yep. So you definitely do it for her. 6 o'clock tonight, SEC Network, if you can't make it to Neville Arena. Coach, thank you for the time. Good luck against State tonight.
Appreciate you guys. War Eagle.
All right, buddy. We'll see you. That is Stephen Pearl with us each week on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.